We are so excited that you are here today. But before we jump in and get started, we're going to do just a little bit of housekeeping first. So if you are joining us live today, make sure that you look in the chat. There is going to be a link for you to join into our Nearpod lesson for today. We've got a couple of activities for you and want to make sure that you're able to fully engage. So hop on into that Nearpod lesson for us right now. If you are watching this later, then you'll look in the description and you'll be able to access your link there as well. So if you'll hop on in, we are going to jump in and get started. So my name is Ashley Causey, and I have been serving as the Nearpod National Academic Advisor since May of 2023. Prior to joining the team last year, I had been a campus teacher, a campus principal, a director of curriculum and instruction, and an executive director of secondary schools. So wore a lot of different hats at both the campus and district level. I'm excited to be here and talk all things vocabulary with you today. And today I have my colleague Gina, who you've already met. So I'm going to ask her just to introduce herself before we get started.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, my name is Gina Trapp-Golden. I am a professional development associate with Nearpod. Been with Nearpod since April of 2022 and have worn a few different hats within the Nearpod vocabulary spectrum, but I've been with professional development for about 2 years. Before that, I was a high school history teacher / department head. And I taught everything from on-level US history through 3 different AP level histories, and just absolutely loved using Nearpod and Flocabulary in my classroom. Even though we were a small Title I school in very rural South Carolina, my kids loved these different platforms. So excited to be able to chat with you guys all today.
Awesome. Thanks, Gina. So as we are jumping in, I kind of want to give you a little bit of a roadmap for where we're going today. We are excited to be able to share all things about the power of Flocabulary and Nearpod together, and how together these two tools and resources can level up the instruction that you're seeing in your classrooms today. In order for us to do that, we're going to take you on a bit of a journey, and I'm going to think of it as about telling a little bit of a story. So chapter 1 is really going to be about Flocabulary and grounding us in the instructional experiences that Flocabulary provides. Chapter 2 is when Gina's going to come in and she's going to help you see some of the connections between Flocabulary and Nearpod, and so that you can see how they're truly better together. And then at the end, we're going to ask you to really reflect and think about how you might bring some of these resources and tools to the classrooms that you are supporting today. So that's kind of our roadmap for our time together. As we get started, I want you to take just a few seconds, and I want you to think about the classrooms that you've been visiting this year. How are you seeing vocabulary explicitly taught in the classrooms today? Take a minute and put what you're seeing in the Collaborate board. Now, you may need to think just a little bit, but we want to see, what are you seeing about vocabulary explicitly being taught today?
And if you are not already in the live lesson, use that link that has been posted in the chat, because this is definitely one of those sessions you want to be in.
See that verbal, very little visual explanation. I was a former math teacher as well, so I understand teaching math. I always felt like you have to teach the vocabulary and the content at the same time. Word walls for sure. Matching pairs in Nearpod, awesome. All right. A lot of math teachers here. Reviewing the terms before you get to the lesson. Oh, wow. Okay. See a lot of different ways in which we are currently seeing vocabulary being taught. And so I'm going to give you about 3 more seconds before we move on. And then we are going to, we know, and you all know, how critical it is that in order for students to reach that level of comprehension in any content area, they have to know the vocabulary and have some sort of background knowledge prior to really being able to understand the content that they're being taught. And really, in all honesty, I was excited to see in the collab board that we didn't see a lot of the kind of ways that I learned vocabulary. So simply using flashcards or copying definitions out of a textbook or out of the dictionary. Those are no longer enough for our students. So our teachers have to be explicit. They have to provide students the opportunity to consistently engage with new vocabulary at the same time while they're building students' background knowledge, and at the same time, keeping students engaged in the learning process. So it's a really heavy lift for our teachers. And so with Flocabulary, all of that and more is possible. And the best part is that students really love it. So we're going to jump in. And like I said, my part right now, I'm really going to show you a lot of things about Flocabulary so we can all have that same foundation. And then we'll talk about Flocabulary and Nearpod together. When I think about Flocabulary, and what Flocabulary really provides is rigorous and engaging learning experiences for students that's focused on academic vocabulary. And when I think of Flocabulary, there's kind of three main things that I think about highlighting. Flocabulary does so much more, but I'm going to summarize it in three things. And the first one is that it provides rigorous and intentional learning experiences that allows students to move through Bloom's taxonomy. The second one is that it unlocks comprehension through multiple exposures to vocabulary in every single content area. Flocabulary is not an ELA tool or resource. It can be used by any teacher. And then the third thing is that it really authentically engages students in that learning process. So we're going to look at all three of those things and jump into the platform. So Flocabulary has 1,300 standards-aligned video-based lessons across every single content area in grades K through 12. And it goes beyond just covering the standards because every single video-based lesson includes sequenced activities that are designed to move students through Bloom's taxonomy in order to make that learning meaningful and memorable, so that then it becomes that deep and lasting learning that students can transfer through other content areas. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hop over into the Flocabulary platform and show you just a little bit of what I'm talking about. So like I started off saying, it's not just vocabulary is not something that we only teach in ELA, right? My math teachers will understand that. You can come here, you can search by standards, or you can go into content areas. So I'm going to hop into science, and I'm going to go into life science. I know in a couple of weeks, I'm going to be teaching on the food chain. So I'm going to go here. And I'm going to let you heard one Flocabulary video earlier. So I'm going to show you just a couple of seconds of this one.
It's the food chain. Everything's got to eat.
All things need energy to live. It starts with the sun because it's got a lot to give.
So you can kind of hear how fun and catchy the beat is, and you're sitting here passively listening to this video. But what teachers are able to do in Flocabulary is they're able to select this discuss mode. And so you'll see these little dots have now come up, and I'm going to skip over here so you can see what.
And they pass along the energy that they contain.
So now the video will intentionally stop at specific points, and there will be an opportunity for students to respond to a question. So now a teacher could say, okay, turn and talk to your neighbor and describe how energy moves throughout the food chain, and provides that opportunity for discussion and allows for students. Remember, we talked about Bloom's taxonomy. So this is really kind of that remember level of Bloom's. So what is it that you are learning as you're watching this video? On the left-hand side are the activities that we were talking about that every single video-based lesson has. I'm going to show you just a couple, and on the break it down, we are now moving up into that analyze and apply level. So students have to look at this video and they have to create a clip of where they heard the answer. So they're kind of analyzing where they saw that information, and then they're going to apply their learning and describe how a food chain with at least 4 links. So again, taking them on that journey through Bloom's. When you get to this lyric lab at the very last activity, this is where students, get to create their own rhyme, their own rap, however they want it to use it. And so all things need energy to live. It will provide you on the right the vocab words and some help if you're like me and need some help rhyming. So consumers and decomposers have lots to give. Okay, and so it'll show me that I've used all of these vocabulary words. And again, you're taking it to now that create level as it relates to Bloom's taxonomy. So very, very intentional activities to, again, deepen the student's learning and make it more transferable. So that's really kind of that first component, are these rigorous and intentional learning experiences. When we move into that second key piece that I was talking about, this is about that comprehension through vocabulary acquisition. And so throughout these activities, students are exposed to vocabulary multiple times throughout the entire lesson. And as students are engaging in these practice opportunities, teachers are able to monitor student progress, and they can assign targeted practice sets to students who are struggling. So again, I'm going to show you just a couple of highlights about that. So inside of here, we have our vocab cards. This is another way that students can experience it. It's aligned somewhat to the Frayer model because they'll get a definition, it's used in a sentence, they get a picture, but they're able to expand and again, create. So I can write my own sentence here or description, or I can draw my own picture here. And so then it becomes my personal flashcard and not just a generic one that is there. There's a vocabulary game that students are able to drag, and they'll be able to move through and see their progress. And so, like I said, all the while, the data is being collected on how students are doing as they're engaging with these vocabulary terms multiple times throughout the lesson. And what a teacher can do, and I know you're all administrators here, so I'm going to show you a little bit of the teacher lens first. A teacher can come in and be able to look at their vocab analytics. So they can see how students are performing, how many of them have a high word proficiency, medium, low, and so forth. And then I can come down here to Naya, and I see that Naya is really struggling in math. So as her math teacher, I can assign her some targeted vocabulary practice specific to what she needs. So it's very targeted for her. So that's from the teacher lens, but I know, again, you're all administrators here. And so I want to show you a little bit about what you're able to do. So inside of the My Analytics, we know that you want to see the impact of what you're providing to teachers, right? And so here you'll be able to see whether it's at the school or district level, you can see exactly how all of your students are performing. You can see what words they're really strong with, what words they're struggling with. And then you can look into the school. You can drill down into the school and look by teacher and so forth. So it provides you a number of different ways in order to look and see how students are performing and how your campuses and schools are performing with this focus on vocabulary. So again, that's kind of that second one, consistent opportunities for students to engage with the vocabulary. And then again, that targeted practice, that's what each and every single child needs. And then that third piece that I shared about is that it really authentically engages your students. So our video-based lessons really create emotional connections by harnessing the power of music, visual art, humor, drama, and really storytelling throughout these videos. And the content allows teachers to help bring joy and curiosity to their classrooms, but while also seeing the benefits of a rich and high quality learning experience. And again, our students absolutely love it. And so that is a very fast, quick, high-level overview of Flocabulary. And I want you to take a second and I want you to think, I used to think this about Flocabulary, but now I know. Was there something that we talked about in this first 15 minutes or so that really kind of changed the way you think about Flocabulary? So take just a few seconds and think through that. You can write, you can type, you can put a picture in, whatever is easiest for you. I love what I'm seeing. I remember when I was a campus principal and my campus used Flocabulary and Nearpod. I'm going to be really honest and transparent and say that I probably bought it just because my teachers wanted it. And I was like many of you and thought it was just some really cool videos, right? So my hope is today that many of you have seen that there's really a lot of intentionality that has been put into the development of not just the videos, but also the thinking behind the activities with Bloom's taxonomy, allowing students to really travel and get to that create level, providing the targeted activity, vocabulary practice after they've engaged is a huge tool to help differentiate for your students and things like that. So I absolutely love that you guys are getting to see Flocabulary for what it really is. I love thinking about it. It's just videos and songs, right? And now we know that it has so much more to offer our students. And so this is really just the beginning, because what Gina is now going to help you dig into, and Gina, I'm going to let you share, is really thinking about, okay, Flocabulary, we've seen it's really cool. It's got some great aspects of it, but how does it work together with Nearpod? And so she's going to be able to show you how truly the two are better together.
So now we're going to really talk about how you can incorporate Flocabulary into your Nearpod instruction. So often we think of these two platforms as completely separate, but that is just not the right way to think about this. Flocabulary can be used to support your Nearpod instruction, and Nearpod can be used to support your Flocabulary instruction. So I am so excited to kind of chat with you a little bit about all of the different ways that you can bring Flocabulary into your instruction in your classrooms and have your teachers bring it into their classrooms as well. So there's 3 different ways to integrate Flocabulary into Nearpod. You can easily add Flocabulary lessons from flocabulary.com, and I will absolutely be demoing how to do that to show you how to bring them in. You can always just add Flocabulary videos, or you can start with Flocabulary video packs as well. So we have lessons in Nearpod with Flocabulary created at the forefront of it, Flocabulary videos, or if you want to bring the whole Flocabulary experience into Nearpod, you can do so as well. So that's what I'm going to be talking about right now. So the very first thing that I'm going to go ahead and do is make sure that I'm in my Nearpod platform and also in my Flocabulary platform. And once it loads, there we go. Now, the first thing that I want to do is I am intending on creating a lesson here. So I'm going to go ahead to our new updated platform, just as a little by the way, love this stuff. We're going to go to this option to create content from scratch. So I can craft an entire blank lesson, or I can find a lesson in the Nearpod library, bring in the Flocabulary content that I'm looking for, and make this lesson just a little bit more hip and fun for all of our, Gen Zs and I don't know, Gen Alphas. Is that what they are now? Something like that. So here we go. I am going to title my lesson. Now what I am going to do is I am going to go on the hunt for a Flocabulary video. So I'm going to switch over to my Flocabulary platform. I am going to find a lesson. Let's see, I was using this lesson on text structure earlier when we were kind of entering into the learning. So I'm going to go ahead and use this one again. Now, the very first thing that I would highly recommend doing is when you are assigning this lesson or to your students in Nearpod, make sure that you're actually assigning it to them in Flocabulary so you can get that data. So make sure once you have your lesson that you are wanting to share with your students, click Assign. Choose the class that you want it to be assigned to. Select those activities. I want to make sure that they are doing all parts of this lesson right here. You can choose a due date. We'll just give it, why not make it Halloween? And then we create that assignment. Once you create that assignment, it is ready to go. Now your students, when they not only go into Nearpod and they are, when they are in the Nearpod lesson, they can click on the Flocabulary link. It will bring them into Flocabulary. They would have to log in and then they start getting credit. You start generating that data, and that's what it's all about. So we have our Nearpod lesson right here that we have been working on. You're going to see me bouncing between some screens, and I apologize for that. But what we're going to do is we want to bring the entire lesson into the Nearpod platform. So all you have to do is take this URL, go back into the Nearpod platform, go to add new, and then we are going to choose interactive web content and then add. Once we have done so, we can just simply pop that URL in. If we wanted to test that link, it will bring us right to that lesson right there. So that is the first way that you can bring lessons into the Nearpod platform. Now, if you wanted your students to just complete maybe the vocab card component of this, what you can do is you can easily, if my screen would load here, is you can easily just click on the segment that you want them to focus on. You can also make sure that you are just assigning that specific component. Take that URL, same thing, copy it, bring it into the Nearpod platform. You can create a separate web content link. This time you pop that in, test the link, and it is going to bring them right to the activity that you are looking for, making it a little bit easier. Your students don't have to be hunting around for the assignment that they are needing to complete. So that is a great way to just make sure that you are completing just the segment that you want them to. Yes, I am a huge fan of doing that, just as a way to make sure that you are targeting the instruction that you want them to. Nearpod's a familiar platform to them probably by this point in the year. Why not make Flocabulary comfortable for them as well? Now, the next component that you can do, you can either continue creating a lesson just like that. If you wanted to, and you wanted to find just a Flocabulary video, you can definitely do that as well. So we can go to create a lesson. Same thing, we can go to create content from scratch, or you can just edit a lesson. If you are just wanting them to see a Flocabulary video, you can easily do that as well. You can go to add new. And what's nice is the fact that if you purchase a Flocabulary account, you will have access to, drumroll please, the Flocabulary videos right here. So not only do you have access to the entire Flocabulary platform, but Flocabulary videos, you can add them into your Nearpod lessons with no problems, and you will be able to find all of the Flocabulary videos that you have ever wanted. So all of your videos are in here, Flocabulary, all of these different lessons are available for you. You can find them, you can pull them up. What's also really nice is you can search. So we can simply do, you can search the pyramids. Pretty sure I spelled that right. Good, I did. And so you can easily find the videos that you are looking for. You can click on them, bring the Flocabulary videos in. What's also really nice is you can add activities that students are familiar with in the Nearpod platform, but it is with that same level of engagement that you get from a Flocabulary video. You're going to get that visual representation, you're going to get the beats, you're going to get all the different fun, but you are going to be able to incorporate the Nearpod platform in there as well, and that comfort level that they might get from the Nearpod platform. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to go ahead and save and exit. And like I said, there is a few different ways that you can bring lessons in. And so this is just a few different ways that you can kind of start incorporating Flocabulary into your Nearpod platform. Now, I don't want you to get discouraged. I'm seeing a few people saying in the chat that you don't have access to Flocabulary. You don't have to leave, I promise. This is showing you all of the incredible things that Flocabulary can do. And I encourage you to check out Flocabulary. We even have an opportunity for you to get a demo account, a little, teaser free trial if you wanted to just check it out as well. So that is a great way for you to be able to explore the platform and just see if this is something really worthwhile. Personally, for me, I find it so worthwhile. I think that this is one of the best little merges that we've ever done between Nearpod and Flocabulary. Now, the Flocabulary platform has so much that it can offer you. There is just so much unique data that you can be generating from your students that you can use in your classrooms, that you can use at an administrative level, that you can use at a district level to show growth. And so I am such a huge fan of it. So that is just why I am so excited to be able to keep talking about it. Now, another really cool option with this is because you purchase the Flocabulary platform, you have access to Flocabulary. Like I mentioned before, you'll also have access to the Flocabulary video pack as well. And that will always be in the Nearpod content section, right underneath the Nearpod library. It's going to be in that same area. And when you go into the Flocabulary video pack, you have the ability to go in and you can search and you can find all of the different Flocabulary videos that we have. Plus, on top of that, we also have lessons created specifically based around Flocabulary videos, but they are Nearpod lessons centered around Flocabulary. And you can easily add these to your library, or you can preview these lessons. And you can see that they are structured just like a normal Nearpod lesson. They are usually 25 to 30 minutes long. We have embedded Nearpod activities in there. And as you kind of go through, you can check these out. You see that we have all of these different components built in. Learning objectives are there. Essential questions are built in, which saves your teachers a little bit of time too. And then on top of that, as you're kind of clicking through, you can see that there is so much information. It's colorful, it's fun. Here's the Flocabulary video, but we have all of these different activities that are built in as well to really reinforce that information. So it's not just relying on the Flocabulary platform. You are also checking out and seeing that we have Nearpod activities built in as well. And so I just think that it is such a valuable addition to schools. And I really hope that, teachers are able to have access to this. Definitely recommending checking out a free trial if they don't already have one. But I think that they are just so cool. And so that is pretty much what I kind of have on this right here. Ashley, do we want to kind of chat about anything else?
Yeah. So Gina, I wanted to see if you could show them how, when you use one of the videos that's inside of Nearpod, when we looked at the discuss mode in Flocabulary, it was really front of class. Like the video stops, they can turn and talk to their neighbor, but the teacher doesn't really know what they're turning and talking to their neighbor about, right? Because she can't hear every single student's conversations, right? But if you use the video inside of Nearpod, there's interactive mode, and it will ask the exact same questions. And I'm happy to pull up an example if you want me to.
No, I gotcha. I know exactly what you're looking for. Well, this is a great option as well. So as Ashley was mentioning, turning on discuss mode within the Flocabulary platform encourages, shoulder partner conversations, things like that. But as she mentioned, when you do something like that, you don't get the data from your students. So when you have a Flocabulary video like this one linked in on the Pyramids of Giza, you can add these Nearpod activities in here, including open-ended questions or multiple choice questions, and you can gather this data. So you can be asking your students, what do you already? And you can add a question like that in there. Back to the video. You also have the ability to continually kind of mark through, checking out, adding different activities. If you think that a video is too long, even though most of the Flocabulary videos are usually under 3 minutes or something, but you also have the ability to trim that video as well. So you can kind of cut it back if you need to, make it a little bit shorter. Maybe you have, kindergarten students, maybe they can't sit still and focus for a longer period of time. So shorten the video, chunk it up. That's such a great way to make sure that you are keeping their attention and also checking in on them at the same time.
When it's cold, I'm miserable, but I don't.
But
All right, that was me.
okay, I was like, oh no, what did I click? And so there are so many different ways that you can use this to really build that interactivity in Nearpod or in Flocabulary. And then bringing the two of them together is such a great way to make sure that you are boosting that engagement in your classroom. And what's also really nice is once you launch those lessons and you have that Nearpod data, you can always check out your reports and you can see all of this data in your reports. And it is just, it's fantastic. I'm a huge fan of just all the data that you can generate both on the Nearpod platform and then on the Flocabulary platform. It's also really cool that once you assign those lessons and you share it into the Nearpod platform, you're assigning it from Flocabulary, bring it into Nearpod as that URL. You can still be getting all of that data in your reports on Flocabulary, get the data analytics. I go crazy over the data analytics because there is so much information that you can get from it. And I think that that is just so valuable. And obviously this is the administration level right here, but if you go into your specific classes as the educator, and you're going into the classes, you're going into the vocab analytics, you can see on a class level the data. And then as an admin, you can see how your schools and how your district as a whole is performing. And I know Ashley mentioned that, but I just want to reinforce just how cool that data is. You can even see some of the words that students are, succeeding with, some of the students that some of the words that they might not be succeeding with as well, and based on different subject levels too. So you can really be targeting all of the different students that are in need. So I am just a huge fan of making sure that that is addressed. Yes, Ashley Causey saying the data is powerful. Yes. All right. How do our kids get Nearpod? Is it a completely separate subscription? Yes. So Nearpod is a separate subscription than Flocabulary or Freckle. So these are all separate subscriptions, but they can work together so well. And I just, I highly encourage you probably to chat with a customer success manager about, how to kind of bring that into the platform.
And the good news is that in just a few minutes, we're going to give you a link where you're able to let us know if you want to learn more about how to bring this to your campus or your district. And so we'll be able to do that for you in just a few minutes.
Valeric, there's a question. Is there a way to send questions, answers to Time to Climb? Time to Climb is pretty much either created by the educators or by our content team. So if you want to create your own Time to Climb, you are more than welcome to. What's also really cool is that you can, have your students maybe watch a Flocabulary video and then base their responses on a Time to Climb, or switch that around, something like that. You get what I mean?
Yeah, I think for sure I love to see how there's that flexibility in that the students could watch the video and then they could do a Time to Climb that's created and things like that. You can kind of piece it together. It's not like the Flocabulary activities have to be done in one setting. It doesn't have to be done in one class period. You can kind of break it apart and make it really useful in that lesson or that unit, so forth.
Seeing a question, if there's a free version of Flocabulary, there is a free trial that you can do. If you go to flocabulary.com, there is an option for a free trial right there. You can sign up. You have 30 days to check it out, explore, see all the benefits and all of the incredible things that Flocabulary has to offer. And then we can kind of go from there. But I think that it is an incredible opportunity to see all of the awesomeness that is Flocabulary.
All right. Any other questions? Feel free to put them in the chat. We're happy to answer any other questions you have. So right here where it says get in touch, and I believe Jolie also put this in the chat. So we want you to let us know how today's session was. Give us feedback. And then there is also a way for you to let us know if you want somebody to reach out to you in order to talk about how to bring Flocabulary or Nearpod to your school or district so that you can see the impact of these resources in your classrooms. So really excited to be able to share this with you today and give you just dip your toes into a little bit about Flocabulary and Nearpod. You know, I know when I was working at the campus and even as the director of curriculum, really trying to figure out how does everything work together. So knowing that you're putting a lot of resources in the hands of your teachers, and sometimes there can be that feeling of being really overwhelmed. And so our goal today was really just to let you see how you can take Flocabulary and Nearpod, use them together, and have that really seamless instruction in the classroom. So thank you for being here. We'll hang around. If you guys have any other questions, you can put them in the chat. And if not, then you can go ahead and fill out that form and let us know how today's session was. And if you would like somebody to reach out and contact you. Thank you guys for being here.